back, y'all, to the Jonnyizz show. So today, sorry for the delay. It's been too long. Got busy with life, just like any other human being. So we're gonna finish up the knives section today, and then hopefully move on to something a little bit more interesting, hopefully to y'all. So today we're covering the maintenance and handling. So we're covering basic maintenance from sharpening and cleaning and oiling. Alright, and then how to handle a knife, i.e. primarily handing it to people, because I've seen a lot of people who hand people knives and it just sets little triggers off because they're doing it a very unsafe way. Alright, so and then on top of that, we're also going to cover a little bit more into the different levels of sharpening. So going into that, sharpening a knife, there's multiple ways this can cover, and everything we're covering today covers for your basic household kitchen knives, pocket knives, hunting field knives, whatever. There's 4 levels of sharpening a knife. You have beginner to expert. Me, myself, I've made it to more the advanced level, so the third to highest, but you know, you can't complain. So your beginning level is usually a simple sharpening groove where it has the point right here where you set your knife in, alright, and the angle is preset. Now a typical knife angle varies between 20 and 15 degrees with one of your beginning sharpeners. So it could be, this is one version that I personally like using. Here's another one that you can get. I mean, literally you can tell just by looking, it has the V groove, and you grip it and then you go. And with sharpening, you gotta do equal strokes, regardless of where it's beginner to expert. If you don't do even strokes along each side of the blade, one side will end up happening. Let's say this is your blade, it's going to start curling to one side when it's uneven. So take that into account. Beginner levels, as I said, your typical groove is going to be between 15 and 20 degrees. What that means is not here's it flat 15 degrees up, 20 degrees up. It's actually, when you're looking at the blade, it's a compound beveled angle, meaning it looks something like that, where there's 2 bevels to it. The main bevel that you see, and then then the blade itself, where it's sharpened, is another bevel. So when you hear 15 to 20 degrees, it's alright, that could be 15, that could be 20. We're talking how wide is that, how narrow is that point. Alright, so from there you have your intermediate. Now intermediate is sort of cross between it's not much of a jump. What makes it intermediate is, instead of having just one sharpening piece, whether it's carbide, ceramic, aluminum oxide, whatever that compound is in there, every company uses their own. You have one where you have 2 now, where you have a coarse and a fine. Alright, now your coarse ones are typically going to be aluminum oxide, diamond, or carbide. These are much harsher, rougher metals that can take more material off. Whereas when you go to your finer, 9 times out of 10, it's a ceramic. Reason being, ceramic's much finer grit, takes off less material, so on and so forth. So that's one you'll find. That's why I consider this one intermediate, because the angle's still preset for you, but you have an intro to going from coarse to fine. Now also on this you have a little rod, which is more your advanced level, but if you're sharpening a serrated knife, this is what you typically use. So now going into that, there's 2 different areas for the advance. You have your stones on one hand and your steels. Now, your stones can be a typical wet or oil stone like this. This is a wet stone, very fine grit. Not, as you can see, it really does has its use. It start off looking really white to dark grayish. All right. So, and your stones can be from wet or oil, which are very common, to also a lot you'll get nowadays, which are diamond stones, which can look like so. So a diamond stone is a dry stone. You use no liquid on it. Doesn't matter if you, whichever you use. Your other one is your steels. Now this is a typical knife steel that you would use for kitchen knives. Just like your stones and your steels, you actually set the angle. So when you're holding the knife to it, for example, alright, let's say here's my knife, and you take the angle up. If you notice, as I come up, the angle changes. Alright? And you do equal strokes, going with the steel from here all to, so you start with the thickest part of the blade down here, and you want to end up with the tip just before this end. Reason being is this can mess up your blade as well. Now with your stones, one thing you have to be cautious with is, just like your steels, you change the angles. So for example, alright, starts here, comes up, and depending on that angle depends on what you set your angle at. So this is more the advanced. It's easy to you go from coarse to fine, just like you would with your intermediate. Now me personally, I like using the diamond stone as my coarse. Takes off the most material. I can set the angle the way I want it, and then go from there. And then I'll finish up with the whetstone, because I can get a much cleaner look on it and get a more mirrored finish because of the liquid to help remove stock. On top of that, I like whetstones more because if you go hunting, whatever, and you bring an oil stone, you have to bring some type of oil with you. Whereas a whetstone, you always have water around, whether it's in your spit, your canteen, in a riverbank, wherever. That's the nice part. Personal preference, you hear people say oil stones are better than whetstones. This is better than that. Truth is, it's all personal preference. Now your expert level. Expert, I've done some stuff with, but not with a knife. Typical stuff I've done are drill bits and engine lathe bits. And you're using actual grinder wheel or belt grinders to set those angles. And the reason why I set those as experts, very simply, you can mess up a blade 10 times faster than with any other from the advance on down, because you don't control the speed of the wheel. It just goes at speed, and then the only thing you can change is the grit. Like I said, you want to go coarse to fine, just like when you're working with wood or any other material. Now, handling. Actually, no, we still have to do cleaning and oiling. Sorry. So when I typically do my cleaning, I like to use, and for my oiling as well, my main thing I use is Q-tips. Reason being is it allows me to get into every nook and cranny very easily. If I need to go finer, then I'll go toothpicks. And then the other part I use for cleaning, some people here use soap and water, others you'll hear use this, that. Me personally, if it's really heavy duty cleaning I need to do, I'll use soap and water, but I prefer using rubbing alcohol. Why rubbing alcohol? Why not something else. I use rubbing alcohol because it starts. I put it on the knife. I can thin coat it out. I can dry it off, or I can leave it be, and the alcohol evaporates and doesn't cause it to rust. Even if you have a carbon steel knife, a stainless steel knife, rust happens eventually. No matter, you can tell me your stainless steel is rust resistant. I've had stainless steel knives develop rust on them. It's a matter of time and temperature. So now, one thing I also do occasionally with my knives is you gotta deburr them occasionally. I know we're taking a step back. Forgive me, but last minute thought. Deburring, you'll hear people use 2,000, 3,000 grit sandpapers, this, that. Me personally, I like to go a little bit old school, a little bit easier to use. And if you've seen Gran Torino, you've seen this. If you've seen some older movies where they ask for a classic shave in a barbershop, I give you the strap. Reason I use this is this helps deburr it. It's a very fine leather, equivalent to the 2,000 grit sandpaper, and then which helps deburr all the burrs or anything from sharpening and whatnot. And then I have the polish side, which helps, I find, 9 times out of 10, give the knife, cleans up the knife, takes any scuff marks or anything out. This helps out immensely. I mean, go anywhere, you can hook onto a belt loop, wherever. That's the beautiest part of the strap. You can use 2,000 sandpaper, 4,000, whatever you want. Me personally, I recommend the strap. Now, we covered cleaning, covered it with Q-tips for cleaning and oiling. Now, oiling. Oiling is definitely a personal preference of what you like to use, where you want to use 3-in-1 oil like I do. And I just put it on the knife, spray it out with the Q-tips, take the excess off with the other end of the Q-tips, and try to get even coating. You never want your knife dripping with oil. You want just a nice even coat across it. You want it to be, so to speak, a little bit on the damp side, never like soaked in oil. And then other people have used WD-40. Some people have used liquid wrench. Some people use this blaster, white lightning, crud. Whatever it is, everyone has their own personal preference. So, like I said, definitely take your time. Now, handling. Handling is a very important thing when handing a knife to someone. I learned this when I was a little kid once I got my first knife, and I still am very cautious today of how I handle knife. Just like with a pair of scissors, you don't hand somebody the point first, and usually hand the back handle first. Same concept with most knives, especially if it's a single-edged knife. If it's a single-edged knife, you hand it to them. So you hand it with the back of the blade. I usually go with, as you can see, to the palm of my hand. Alright. And then I hand them with the 2 fingers or so, 3 maybe, depending on the knife. Alright. With the point pointed away from my body. And handing them the handle. You hand them the handle. This way they can grip it. Alright. And the reason why I usually have it slightly pushed away and is if they try to stab you with it, you have enough time to push it out to essentially check their hand away or move your body out of the way before you are essentially hurt. Now, what happens if it's a double-edged knife? Alright, most typical knives that you get around the house aren't double-edged, but there are those occasions. If it's double-edged, you hand it similar to a pair of scissors, point down, alright, and don't look at the person, look at the knife. Because they may accidentally push forward, they may do something and you may end up seriously hurt. Handling a knife is just like handling a firearm. It's just like handling power tools or something. You have to be cautious of it because you may know it. The person you're handing it to may do something stupid. Alright? it happens in life. You don't want to get hurt. You don't want to end up in a lawsuit, so on and so forth with everything else. Be smart. Be cautious. Since we got a little time, stereotype of knives. People who carry knives aren't all dangerous. Just because it's a fixed knife doesn't mean it's illegal, so on and so forth. Double check the laws in your state and country, wherever it may be. Figure out the rules, regulations. Figure out what's comfortable for you. If you're learning to sharpen a knife, I recommend going with one of the preset ones. Smith's is very common. I can find a lot of stuff in. They also have intermediate, stones, so on and so forth. That is all I got for today. Please subscribe, add comments below. Let me know what's going on. Hope y'all had a great time learning about something. Made this one a little shorter than last time. And I should see you all soon. Have a great day.